All right, guys, we are here for the Super Wildcard Weekend 2026 Free Tendies Fantasy Special. I'm here with Yanni. What's up, dude? How's your week been? No, we haven't recorded in like a week. It's been all season.
I know. All of a sudden, there's like a few hours of free time in the week. It's been good, man. It's been good. Week 18 kind of sucked football wise, but it's all right.
Yeah, Niners losing obviously was a dagger for me personally.
Yeah,
Had
yeah.
a big week though. For those of you that are card collectors, I would like to show you the Devon Achan downtown. I don't know if the camera's focusing or whatever. But yeah, so I pulled it downtown. This is a 3-year journey that I've been on to try and pull this specific card. And frequent watchers of the show will know that Devon Achan is one of my most disrespected players, that I've gone on record multiple times and called him a fraud. And now I have serious money riding on him being good. So am I Devon Achan fan?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to see about that. But yeah, so basically how this is going to go is we're just going to talk about the games, what we think of them, go over some stats or whatever, figures, thoughts on the games, and give our predictions. Then we'll just do a little bracket or whatever at the end, and it'll just be kind of low key or whatever, right? I've seen a lot of bracket challenges now. People are doing that, like March Madness. I'm actually involved in two of them. So if you guys are watching the videos and you're in brackets with me, I'm only giving you the answers 1 week ahead of time. If you're smart, you'll copy me. But we'll start with the first one. And should I take this, Yanni, because my second team is finally grown up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Had to let my Panthers go as a second team. We're still in deliberation for where my second string fandom will go next week. But the Rams are going to Carolina to play the Panthers. First game of the week, I believe it is Saturday afternoon. So we should have a couple hours for between this episode going live and the game appearing, right? But here's just some statistical breakdowns on the game. The Rams' offense is first in points scored over the regular season, first in yards gained, first in passing offense, seventh in rushing offense, seventh in red zone touchdown percentage. They once they get in the red zone, they score a touchdown 63.2% of the time, and then they are 17th in third down conversion rate, which is surprisingly low given how elite the rest of the numbers are. Right, they're converting just a hair under 40% of the time on third down. And on the other side, the Panthers offense, not as nice of a story as the Rams. They are 27th in points scored, 27th in yards allowed or yards gained, 19th in passing yards, 26th in rushing yards. So that's shocking to me that the Panthers were somehow a better passing team than a rushing team this year. 24th in red zone touchdown percentage. The Panthers were getting in the paint 53.3% of the time they made it to the red zone. Then 25th in third down conversion rate. So 36.1% of the time they convert third downs. That is like bottom seven in the league. All right. Then for the other side of the ball, the defensive numbers, the Rams are 10th in points allowed, 17th in yards allowed, 19th in passing yards allowed, 12th in rushing yards allowed. So I would call that middle of the board to good, depending on the lens you're looking through across the board. The Rams, however, are third in red zone touchdown percentage defensively. They only allow a touchdown 46.2% of the time. And they are seventh in third down conversion rates to their opponents. They only allow their opponents to get a third down or convert a third down 36.3% of the time. On the other side, the Panthers are 15th in points allowed, 16th in yards allowed, 15th in passing yards allowed, and 20th in rushing yards allowed. So it's like kind of a close matchup here by the numbers ish on the defenses. Panthers allow a few more points, a little bit worse on rushing defense, but I'd call them probably both middle of the pack statistically speaking. The Panthers, however, are fourth in red zone touchdown percentage. They allow a touchdown when the opponent gets in the red zone 55.2% of the time. And then they are second to last in stopping third down conversions. They allow their opponents to get a third down 47.1% of the time. Spread on the game is Rams minus 10.5, and the over under is 46.5. So, really, right, when we talk about this game, like, I feel like the Panthers, you look at those offensive yards, right, and you're like, how is this a playoff team when they're kind of a middle of the road defense? And you can thank the trash NFC South for that, right? Panthers sneak in at an 8-9 record. They did not have a good year, right? But I mean, if you are a Panthers fan and you want to put on your copium hat, the game is at least in Carolina, which benefits them. The Panthers are 5-3 at home this year, surprisingly decent home team. And the last time they played the Rams, they beat them 31-28 in their home arena. So I mean, on one side, right, the Panthers have shown that they can beat the Rams in their house. On the other side, though, I would say the Rams are definitely not going to be overlooking this game now, right? Given that they've already lost to them. And even I think they'll probably be motivated to rectify the mistake, right? The Rams probably left, I would assume, in the regular season, potentially blowing the number one overall seed by losing this game. It's pissed off. They're like, that team is not nearly as good as us. We shot ourselves in the foot. Like, so I feel like the Rams are going to come in here like looking to looking to get revenge and rectify those mistakes, right? So with the state of the Panthers offense, right, I think that it's safe to say, and I'm going to go ahead and say that the first overall offensive point scored and passing yards and yards gained is probably going to score on the Panthers, right? So I think if the Panthers are going to be competitive in this game, they're going to need to score a lot of points. And in order to do that, I think they absolutely need to have third and short. That's where the Rams have struggled is allowing conversions, right? They're only 17th, stopping the third down. So to me, Panthers need to be 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 throughout this game, largely in order to keep their offense on the field and keep Matthew Stafford and the Rams offense off the field. And to me, when I need 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, that means I think the running game needs to be a priority in this. I think that Chuba and Rico Dowdle, the combination of the two of them, whoever they decide to run, needs to have an elite game, needs to have like one of their like games of the season. I think in order to keep it, I guess, within margin here. To me, like I don't think that this is going to be a relatively competitive game, though. Even though the Panthers are a fun story, right? Like I think that people thought they're a rebuilding team, and I still think that they are, but they sneak into the playoffs on the NFC South technicality, right? I just think that these two teams could not be any more different from each other in terms of Super Bowl aspirations and real expectations here. I mean, the Panthers are playing with house money. I think if the Panthers won this game, I think everyone would be shocked, and the Panthers would just be happy they won the one game, right? And I think the Rams, even though they're the 5 seed, are probably looking to make a Super Bowl run here. Is at least my read on it. I don't know if I would bet the Rams minus 10.5 just because that's such a giant number. And when the Rams lay giant numbers like that, they have trouble covering. Over under, I don't particularly have a read on. What are your thoughts on this game, Yanni?
As far as the over under or just the game in
Just
general?
just the game in general.
So over under, I actually think I would take the over. I took the over in the first game, or did I take the under? I might have taken the under. I don't remember. I think the weather factored in though, right? So here's what I'm wondering. I actually wanted to check while you were talking. I'll just do it real quick. What is the weather report for the game? I actually
Um,
think that really matters. Because if you were to tell me it is going to be a wet slog of a game, Stafford had two of his worst games of the year in a really wet environment in London and there. So I'll just pull it up. Let's see.
it's in Raleigh.
Yeah. Yeah. 71 degrees and clear projected. So, okay. So, like, to me, that would really help the Panthers, right? If they could have gotten a little bit of a weather game. But what do I think about this game? It would be one of the more shocking upsets I've seen, like, since I've been seriously watching football over the last 15 or 20 years. It would be right up there with Seattle beating the number one seed New Orleans Saints, the Marshawn Lynch, the Beastquake game. Maybe a few of those Ryan Tannehill playoff games. Like, didn't the Titans beat the Ravens one year? I believe I do recall that happening. That was pretty shocking, right? With Lamar Jackson when he was on a heater. Um, Lamar lost to the Texans a few years ago, right? Weren't we at the stadium for that? I want to say we were at the Niners stadium watching that unfold. Or maybe he beat him in one of the
He
next
he
round. Maybe
barely beat him. He didn't look
barely
good
beat him. He
though.
almost
Yeah.
lost to him. The Bengals beating the Chiefs when you and I were in SoFi for the championship with the 49ers and Rams, right? So it would be one of the 4 or 5 most surprising playoff wins like I've ever seen. It's just that's it. That's really all there is to say. It's really rough, man. Bryce Young cannot effectively get the ball to his weapons. Like, this year I was an extremely heavy Panthers investor in the form of Tedero McMillan in fantasy. And like time and time again, you would, because I would have their games on all the time because a lot of my weeks came down to how is Tedero McMillan going to do, and you were spent sitting there watching like 11-minute drives from opposing offenses, and they just were not getting the ball to run enough plays, and you're like, oh, come on, get the ball back, get the ball, get the ball back. And like sometimes they would go halves where they would get like 2 drives. So against the Rams, dude, if you're gonna get like 2 or 3 drives a half at most, and you're gonna be hemorrhaging yards and especially on the ground, right? With the Rams are gonna run the rock. Kyron Williams averages over 5 yards per carry in the playoffs, over 5 games. Yeah, I think it's gonna get out of hand. I think it's gonna get out of hand pretty quickly. I'd like to see the Panthers air the ball out quite a bit with Coker and Tedero McMillan. I think they do have a path to victory there. And it's like Bryce Young throwing for 380 yards. So can he do that? I mean, I guess it's within his range of outcomes, but it seems pretty unlikely.
Yeah, I'm definitely not betting on that. If you guys could not tell, the pick from both of us is going to be the Rams here. Go chalk for the first one.
Comfortably the Rams. Okay, Bears and Packers, and this is honestly probably the game I'm most excited for the weekend. Like I actually think as far as like some of the better storylines we could have gotten all year ahead of this, ahead of the playoffs, this one was great. Ben Johnson sort of outright punked Matt LaFleur in his introductory press conference. He showed a ton of respect to Dan Campbell, showed a ton of respect to the Vikings organization as a whole, like Brian Flores and all of them over there, Kevin O'Connell. And then he came out and said, and I really enjoyed beating up on Matt LaFleur twice a year. Like to me, that was, I don't know why he chose that. I think that's kind of funny. He just basically little broed Matt LaFleur right out of the gate. So I love that these two teams are playing with probably the most important Bears game in like 15 years or 10 years, Packers offense this year been a little bit up and down, 16th in points scored, 15th in total yards, 17th in passing yards, 15th in rushing, 14th in red zone percentage, and second and third down conversion rate. So they are a pretty good team on third down. The Bears offense, shockingly, some pretty high numbers here. They are 9th in points scored. They are 6th in total yards, 10th in passing, 3rd in rushing, 12th in red zone percentage, and 7th in third down percentage. They score a touchdown on 58.2% of their trips to the red zone, thanks in large part to Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift's rushing ability, and Caleb Williams making plays down there, and the breakout of Colston Loveland toward the end of the season. Defensively, the Packers, they have been declining a little bit since Micah, but they haven't totally fallen off the cliff. They are 11th in points allowed, 12th in yards, 11th in passing yards allowed, 18th in rushing yards, 19th in red zone percentage, so they do get scored on a little bit when you get down there, and 14th in third down conversion rate allowed. For the Bears, pretty bad defense, and they're missing probably one of their more impactful players in Gardner Johnson. He's going to be out in concussion protocol. 23rd in points allowed, 29th in pass yards allowed. That's where CJ being out really is going to affect them. 27th in rushing yards, 15th in red zone touchdown percentage allowed, and 22nd in third down rate. So you have one of the worst teams in the NFL or a bottom 10 team in the NFL in third down percentage conversion going against one of the best teams. You have to figure that's going to be a pretty big factor in the game. So, and then the Packers are favored by 1.5. The over-under is 44.5. So some key things for the Packer side of the ball here. They have not been able to contain rushing quarterbacks as well without Micah Parsons. Their efficiency defensively has particularly declined when quarterbacks escape the pocket and can make throws on the run or in quarterback rushing allowed. So you have Caleb Williams, who quietly has become one of the better like improvisational quarterbacks in the NFL. He's still not great because he's so inaccurate a lot of the time. Like sometimes he'll roll out and he throws a really sick throw that's like 15 yards out of bounds, but it looks really cool. But I wonder if he's going to be more willing to use his legs now that they're in the playoffs. You'd have to think, right? Ben Johnson's a very clever play caller. To me, it's looked like they should have run Caleb Williams more this year. I wonder if maybe they've been telling him not to run because they need him healthy or whatever. I think Caleb Williams rushing is a huge X factor in this game as far as the Packers defense goes. If they have to allocate a spy to Caleb Williams, with the way Colston Loveland's been playing and the way Burns has been playing out of the slot, I think that's going to be a pretty big edge for the Packers. So I would imagine they are not going to spy Caleb. So I'm very curious to see defensively, what do they do with that, right? I would imagine they're going to play it straight and they're going to, if Caleb really starts to beat them and they have to drop a spy, though, I wonder if we see a big Loveland or a big Burton game here. So defensively, I think the Packers do have their hands full. They've also given up some bigger running games towards the back half of the year here. Mike is actually a very efficient defender against the run, so he really matters there. So defensively, I don't know if this Packers team is what we were seeing in the beginning of the year, but we certainly know they have the ceiling to do it. Their DC is very, very talented. And then the Bears have had this weird thing where they've gone on stretches of not scoring for chunks of the game, right? Offensively for the Packers, I think they're going to have their pick of the litter here. I really do. I feel really good about the Packers offense in this one. I actually think they're going to be able to move the ball up and down the field. I think it's well within their range of outcomes to score 28 to 31 points. I think it does really depend on the health of Josh Jacobs, right? How's Josh Jacobs' knee doing? It seems like he's pretty banged up over the course of the whole year. Their tight end position's fallen off a cliff without Tucker Kraft. Christian Watson's playing really good ball toward the end of the year. Romeo Dobbs still looked really good all year. The rookie Marquise Golden hasn't given him a lot, but they do have Jaden Reed back. Like I'm expecting this to be a pretty high scoring game. A 44.5 point over under is far too low. But to me, it's really just a question of what do the Bears offense do. I love this rushing attack so much. I imagine if you're the Packers, you sell out to stop the rush. I really do. I think that is just you go into this game and you go, the one thing that is not going to happen is we are not going to hemorrhage 200 plus yards on the ground, right? Because Ben Johnson will do that. But you had two breakouts that are pretty important for this Bears offense, and you're getting Roma Dunze back. Roma Dunze is entirely off the injury report. He's been injured for the last, I believe he hasn't played in 4 or 5 weeks. Had what they're called, it was weird. They called it a stress fracture, but if it was a stress fracture, he would have gone on IR. So they called it a stress related injury. I don't know what that means for his foot, but he's off the injury report. But Luther Burden and Colston Loveland, I thought looked pretty damn good the last 2 or 3 weeks each for them. Loveland in particular, like, dude, he full blown breakout this year in my view. Was one of the 20 most efficient players in EPA per play, EPA per target in the NFL. So to me, that is the big thing. Is I don't think we've seen this Bears offense totally healthy for weeks now. Burden has missed time, banged up here and there, right? Um, I'm very curious to see what this passing attack looks like with everyone back. It is going to come down to Caleb, in my view. Caleb is going to have to be better than he's been on his accuracy rate, on his open throw rate. He's going to have to hit passes on the run. He can't just throw it away. He's been doing it a little bit more towards the end of the season. Can he keep it going? And can this rushing attack get going? I'll just say this too. If the Green Bay Packers go out there and they're getting run all over, if Monungai and Swift are averaging like 5.5, 6 yards per carry, I think this game's over pretty quickly. I think they're going to be able to bleed clock. I think they're going to be able to, if you let the Bears do that, it's over. So that's another thing I'll be looking for right off the bat. If the first quarter happens and like the Bears get 60 yards, 50 yards, 70 yards rushing in the first quarter, I think Green Bay's in serious trouble. I do not trust Jordan Love to make good decisions for a whole game, but I don't know if he'll have to here, right? I think this is a pretty good matchup for the Packers to come out of the gate.
Yeah, man. So the line moved.
Yeah.
This game opened up Bears -1.5. And I feel like a lot of the narratives coming, like, I guess, from Green Bay's side, or that they're just dead and they had no shot as soon as Micah Parsons went down, right? And there was enough confidence in the public to bet the Packers up to the 1.5 point favorites on the road, right? So I feel like the betting community and like just NFL fans as a whole aren't really viewing the Bears as a very strong 2 seed. And I don't really think they're one of the stronger. I think it's one of the weaker 2 seeds that we've seen in a while come out of the NFC, right? I still think the NFC is like very exciting. I don't think the Bears are like a bad team or anything. Like, but I'm not sure if they're like a legit 2 seed, right? So I do think this game is going to be close. I had some notes here. Listen, I've had to hear all year from Packers fans about how elite Jordan Love is, about how I'm totally missing on my evaluation of the player. Hayden Winks actually had Jordan Love as his fifth vote for MVP. Jordan Love was second in the league this year in EPA per play at the quarterback position, only behind Drake May, right? So to me, right, I look at this Bears defense that just absolutely hemorrhages yards. I mean, we saw the back and forth with the 49ers in Santa Clara. You should be able to do what you want to on this defense. So, hey, Jordan Love, if you're elite, dude, like go out here and abuse a terrible defense, right? I think that if you're going to be sitting at the big boy table, you need to have a good game here. Like it just is what it is. In the Packers, like if Jordan Love goes out there and throws these boneheaded interceptions like we've seen him do, or he has one of those games where he's just an incredibly inefficient passer like we've seen like in games against the Eagles and stuff. He had that 3 week stretch where he was really bad, right? Like the Packers desperately need a good Jordan Love game here, in my opinion, to keep this thing competitive with the way the Bears offense has been playing, in my opinion. Um, how healthy is Josh Jacobs? You touched on that. The Bears impact turnovers. So this is kind of piggybacking off the idea, right, that Jordan Love will get loose with the ball. He'll make these mistakes. The Bears, even though they hemorrhage yards, they have been pretty good at forcing these impact turnovers. They got one on They got a couple on Jared Goff
49ers.
last week. Yep. The first play of the game, pick six against the 49ers, right? We've seen this. Like the Steelers do it too. Like when you're a defense that gives up a lot of yards, like the way you stay in the game is you make those big plays, right? So I really do think like if Jordan Love goes out there, has a clean game, throws for like over 250 and no interceptions, I think the Bears are in trouble here. But man, asking Jordan Love to play a clean game if in on the biggest stage, like going away, third time against a division rival, it seems pretty hard to me. And then it's just like we've seen the first two times that these teams played, right? The first game, the Packers won, and they really dominated the entire first half and throughout the game. And then in the second half, the Bears kind of made a furious comeback. Caleb throws a pick in the end zone, and the Packers end up winning, right? But it was closer than it should have been. Second time these teams play, you lose Jordan Love in the second quarter, and the Packers still dominate the Bears up until the fourth quarter, and the Bears have this furious comeback at the end, get an onside kick. 10 million things had to go right for the Bears to win that game too, right? So the Packers in not in your home arena, right? In the middle of prime time standalone game, are you going to be able to not melt here? I've seen the Packers. I don't have a lot of faith in the Packers like in these clutch moments, right? And the Bears have just been this clutch team. So to me, it's like, hey Packers, if you get a lead here, can you run the ball and not completely melt all over yourselves? And Bears, can you like play four quarters of good football, right? Because the Packers have dominated you for at least 6 or 7 of those quarters. I do think this is an extremely close game. In terms of like, if I was gonna bet it, I just would not bet it. I just would not bet it at all. Over under, it does seem like not enough points, but I mean it's going to be Chicago on a winter night, right? Like I didn't look at the weather report for this game. I would assume though you're looking at like anywhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 degrees. It gets cold there. We see a lot of low point totals from the Bears. But yeah, I feel like we both kind of evaluated this as pretty close, and we ended up both coming to the same conclusion here. We both took the Bears. I just feel like Micah Parsons, I don't think he moves the needle that much, and that could be like a nuclear take, but I think that's a difference in this one. Like if Micah was playing, I'd probably pick the Packers here.
I think to me this is purely I think we see the young guys take even another step. I now again, I'm a sucker for a good story, dude. You call me out on it all the time, right? I love when something works out like someone wrote it, right? And the way that someone would write this Ben Johnson story, the Caleb Johnson story, the story of two very hyped rookies in the fantasy community. And another one, by the way, Kyle Monangai, I feel like was one of the most fun, like little stretches of fantasy season and like rooting interest this year. I just love the idea that these guys all show up here and take even another step forward. That Ben Johnson decided for some reason to bully Matt LaFleur of all the guys in the division. Like he must have picked Matt as the weakest guy and decided to come directly at him. I love that fate has put them together in the Bears field, and I think we see the absolute best out of Ben Johnson all year. Yeah.
There are some talking heads that are saying Matt LaFleur may be on the hot seat if the Packers lose this game. Do you think that if the Packers lose, LaFleur's gone?
Would I do that? Absolutely not. I would not fire LaFleur. He's a 44-year-old offensive coach from the McShanahan tree. I think that's invaluable. Under no circumstances whatsoever would I move him. But if I have to answer yes or no, no, I don't think they fire Matt LaFleur. I think they're going to stick with him. I know he's made 3 seventh seeds in a row. So people are kind of saying, well, he's only been the expansion playoff guy, right? He wouldn't have made it under the old rules, but he has still made 3 playoffs in a row in which they've been really competitive. They've won multiple games over that span. If the 49ers didn't exist, they probably win a few more. So no, I would not, I do not believe he gets fired this
I
week.
think it
What
would
do you
be
think?
foolish. I think it would be foolish for the Packers to fire him.
It would be shocking. It would be truly to me like I would go. You're telling me we're going to get Bijan Robinson and Drake London and Kyle Pitts in the Matt LaFleur system next year. It would be wonderful in a sense, but it would be shocking. Absolutely shocking to me.
All right, next one. We have our beloved 49ers going to Lincoln Financial Field, looking for some payback from the 2023 NFC Championship game against the Eagles.
Great. Yeah,
Hey,
that's
you know
perfect
what?
to me.
Listen, this is coming from Niners fans here. I think we got a puncher's chance, but emphasis on the word puncher's chance. It's like when Jake Paul stepped in the ring with Anthony Joshua, right? There was an overwhelming favorite in that contest, but Jake Paul had a chance. I think the Niners got a chance here. Here's the offensive and defensive stuff. The 49ers this year are 10th in points scored. They are 7th in offensive yards gained, 5th in passing offense. Shout out Mac Jones. That Mac Jones stretch for when he was in there, the Niners were like the most prolific passing offense in the league. Absolutely elite. 24th in rushing offense. Down year for the Niners. Banged up O line. Some people say that Christian McCaffrey lost a step. I don't think so, though. I think it's blocking. The Niners are 4th in red zone touchdown percentage. They are converting 65.2% of the time they get in the red area. This is a giant, giant improvement from last year when they were last in the league, last in that category, always settling for field goals or not getting any points going into the red zone. This year, they've been a top 5 unit. And our Niners are first on third down conversions. They convert 49.8% of first downs. It's a stat that we saw all over television on Saturday night when the Niners lost to the Seahawks. It's the best first third down team versus the best third down offense versus the best third down defense, and the Seahawks are winning that. So that's what it is. They've been converting on a lot of third downs. I feel like that's large credit to Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. For the Eagles, a lot of people had a lot of things to say about Kevin Patullo and the Eagles offense, and the numbers don't super back them up. The Eagles are 19th in points scored, 24th in yards allowed, 23rd in passing yards gained, and 18th in rushing yards gained. When you have Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley and Devontae Smith on your team, I feel like that's inappropriately low in all categories. Saving grace for the Eagles, though, first in red zone touchdown percentage, they convert 70.5% of the time they get in the red area. The tush push is as deadly as ever. The weird gadget plays to Dallas Goedert have been a thing throughout the entire season. But on the other side of the coin, right, the Eagles are 24th in just converting third downs. They only convert third downs at 37.1% clip, and they led the league this year in the most three and outs. So they have these drives. The Eagles' offense, like when they get it going, they get down in scoring position. A lot of times they punch it in, right? But then they have these halves where they just get in these weird offensive lulls and they're not scoring points and three and outing. On the defensive end, the 49ers, these numbers were shocking to me as a fan of the team. 13th in points allowed, 20th in yards allowed defensively, 25th in passing defense. They've gotten that's not good. But they're 11th in rushing defense somehow. I would imagine it's because the Niners can just get passed on, but I don't know. It's just what the end of the year numbers are, right? The Niners are 12th in red zone touchdown percentage. They allow a touchdown 60% of the time opponents get into the red area, and they are 19th in opponent third down conversion percentage. They allow a third down 40.1% of the time. For the Eagles, fifth in points allowed, 13th in yards allowed, 8th in passing yards allowed, 22nd in rushing yards allowed. So a very good defense. You could say they have a weakness defending the run, but I feel like the Eagles are not as good defending the run when a certain player is not available. More on that in a second. Eagles are ninth in red zone touchdown percentage allowed on defense. So 53.1% of the time opponents score a touchdown. They're top 10 in the category. And they're 21st on third down conversions. They allow a third down 40.5% of the time. Not as good in that category. Spread on the game, Eagles are minus 5.5. Over under is 44.5. And this number, I believe the Niners opened up 3-point dogs, so the betting markets have moved this number 2.5 points. I would assume bettors coming in heavy on Philly here. So, as a fan, right, it's hard for me to not cope here. To me, like it really is just kind of how Philly shows up to me. I love my Niners. I think that offensively they're very good, but defensively, with all the injury they have sustained over the year, you lost Nick Bosa, you lost Fred Warner, you lost your first round pick Micah Williams. You then lost the two linebackers that were behind Fred Warner. You lose numerous other players. Now our cornerback too, Renardo Green, just popped up with an injury today. He's questionable to go. The 49ers look like they will not have Ricky Pearsall. He's not practicing. Trent Williams' status is in question, right? So all of this like just catastrophic injury that the 49ers have sustained, right? I feel like the personnel, like the Niners for so long have had like one of the most talented rosters, right? Like you look on paper and you say, man, the Niners got a great roster. Now with all the injury they sustained, they have millions and millions of dollars on the sidelines, and I just don't think that talent-wise they stack up to Philly, right? So I think what this game boils down to is how does Philly show up? Can the 49ers catch Philly on a weird offensive day, right? Like we've seen this like when Philly played the Cowboys, right? I'd fit the Niners and the Cowboys into like a similar tier where they got a good offense, but their defense is trash at this point, right? And Philly scored 21 on Dallas in the first half, and then just 0 points in the second half, a bunch of three and outs, and they blow the game, right? I feel like that's the only shot the Niners have here of keeping this one close. They just really need Kevin Patullo to shit his pants on live TV, right? Because if Saquon gets going, right, if AJ Brown's just starts catching these deep go balls that Jalen loves to throw, like I think this thing could be over pretty quickly. We've seen the Niners in their losses this year, right? Who have the Niners lost to? The Niners lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, as it turns out, better defense than we would have thought, right? They lost to the Houston Texans, elite defense. They lost to the Seattle Seahawks, elite defense. And then they lost to the Rams, who, in some aspects, have elite defenses, right? I think Philly with Jalen Carter in there are much harder to run on. I would categorize Philly as an elite defense, right? So can Kyle and Brock Purdy put up points here? I think the Niners need to put up points to be competitive. I think they need at least 28 to 35 points here to keep it close to have a shot in this game. It's been a long time since the Niners have been in the playoffs that I just have felt like it's not going to happen. But, you know, when we do this stuff and we prognosticate, I got to do it with my head and not my heart. What are you thinking, Yanni?
Just a terrible matchup, dude. When Jalen Carter's in there, it is a different run team. I don't um I don't want to really look at their splits with or without him because without him they get run all over, and that's what's affecting their number. With him, they're a very, very good running defense. They have incredibly athletic linebackers that cover the run and the pass sideline to sideline. They have Cooper DeJean who can take George Kittle out of the slot, or he can take, if it'll probably be Kendrick Bourne in the slot if Ricky Parasol doesn't go. But I think it'll be Kittle, right? And he's one of the best covered corners in the NFL out of the slot. They're one of the best teams against tight end in the NFL. They're one of the most efficient defenses against tight end in the NFL. And then they're gonna have Quinyon and Mobe locking up Juwan Jennings outside. And Juwan Jennings can do a lot of things really well, but if you give him a good size physical cover corner like Mitchell, there's just not a whole lot of negotiating there. There's not a whole lot of negotiating room to be done. Added on to the fact, I think Trent Williams will go this week based on the practice reports. It sounds like he's probably not going to be 100%. And that D line is a fucking handful on a good day.
Yeah.
So I think Brock's going to be running for his life. He had dudes in his lap, like left and right without Trent out there against Seattle. So, again, Trent's a tough guy. If he's playing, I think we're going to get like 75 or 80% of Trent Williams, which is still better than most tackles in the league, but it's not 100% Trent Williams. Kittle didn't look close to 100% to me last week either. Um, it's just really tough. It's really tough with all the injuries, and that doesn't even cover the defensive side of the ball. Like I think even just in a vacuum, if the defense were totally healthy, which obviously would really help, you don't have a Brandon Ayuk on the outside, you don't have a Ricky Parasol on the outside. You're relying on guys like Kendrick Bourne and Juwan Jennings that just cannot stretch the field. Demarcus Robinson's been doing a little bit of that for the 49ers, and then George Kittle will off play action, but it's just sort of this series of cascading events. And 49ers fans are really familiar with what this looks like because we just saw it last year when Brandon Ayuk left the team and Ricky Pearsall got injured and Debo Samuel got pneumonia. It's like when the team cannot go vertical at all, when they lack their man beaters on the outside or any sort of vertical threat, defenses force them to be this really compact, like nickel and dime offense, and it looks really weird. And then all of a sudden the space to run is gone and the run blocking isn't opening up anything, and Christian's getting crushed on the line and they're dumping it off short. So, like, before we even get to the mess of a defense, I think there are really, really brutal factors for the 49ers offensively against this defense. In my opinion, this defense is the worst matchup, even worse than Seattle for the 49ers because of the way they're constructed. It is what it is, man. And no matter how much I love this team, it does not affect the reality of the situation on the field. And then defensively, I don't care if they're getting Lane Johnson back. The Eagles, one of the probably for my money the best right tackle in NFL history. Maybe Penei Sewell has something to say about that when it's all said and done. But one of the best right tackles, one of the best tackles in the history of the sport, dude. That cannot be overstated. What that means. I expect a really big Saquon game. I think AJ Brown. They do not have anyone that can match up with AJ Brown. The best corner on the team, Diamador Lenore, is not an AJ Brown guy. He's not big enough. He's just not. Renardo Green's at least physical. He gets a lot of PIs, but at least he's physical and gets in there, but he might not even go. And if he does, he's going to be at under 100%. And then lastly, the 49ers have been incredibly vulnerable to tight end all year. I mean, they got torn to shreds from Colston Loveland, right? They didn't, Barner didn't hurt him too bad last week, but that was because they were killing him in other ways. I think Goddard's going to have a really big game. If you guys are making DFS cards for this one, like I'm going to make a big tournament DFS card, I would captain Goddard. Certainly, I think he has crazy upside. He's probably the best value on the whole card. So, yeah, it's just a bummer. It really is. I think this was a legitimate Super Bowl run if the team stayed healthy. But they've been hammered by cluster injuries. It is what it is. We have to be realistic, and that's why we're picking the way we are.
Yeah, fun stat I wrote down I forgot to mention. So I feel like the biggest X factor in this game and the biggest reason the Niners might fall short here is if Ricky Pearsall does not play. I feel like that player does not get enough respect from Niners fans or the NFL as a whole. In games where Ricky has started and finished the game, the Niners are 8-0. They have not lost a game that he has started and finished.
Yep.
He is their vertical field stretcher, and the way you beat the Eagles, the weakness of the Eagles defense is that cornerback too, right? They have Mitchell and they have Cooper to lock up the slot. That second corner is the guy you attack. So I feel like if Ricky can rub some dirt on it, get out there and look effective, it might change the game, make it a little bit more competitive. But as it stands, two Niners fans telling you we're taking the Eagles. It hurts my heart. I'd love to see an upset here. I'd love to see an upset and a Packers upset, so we get the Niners going to not Seattle the following
SoFi
round. Yep.
to SoFi.
Well, I didn't want to give. Oh, I guess we already revealed that we picked the Rams, right? So yeah, it would
Yeah.
be the Niners at SoFi.
Yeah. Way to be sneaky, man. Going to not Seattle. All right. In a game that I think is pretty, I think that so as far as the Bears and Packers is my favorite game of the week because of the intrigue. The 49ers are the least favorite game of the week because of the heartbreak and pain that I know is coming. The I can't say that on YouTube. I was gonna make an inappropriate comment. The Bills and Jags though, dude, as far as what could really impact the playoffs. Dude, if Josh Allen gets knocked out of this AFC bracket where who are the guys he's looking up at right now, right? The Patriots, the Broncos. If Josh Allen gets eliminated from the bracket round one, I think all of a sudden we're going to see a funky Super Bowl matchup, which is fun in some ways. But in other ways, I really want to see a guy like Josh Allen get a ring. So, to me, this game is going to be heart pounding, just maybe legacy defining consequences for the players involved. On the other side, God, if Trevor Lawrence goes and wins a Super Bowl ring in his first 5 years, could you imagine what the narrative will be? How we all clowned on the prince that was promised? Huge stakes for two guys that, they're obviously not in the same class, but some people really believe that Trevor Lawrence would be a Josh Allen caliber quarterback, right? To me, legacy defining, absolutely legacy defining. The Bills going to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. And the Bills are bringing with them one of the best offenses in the league. They are fourth in points scored, fourth in yards, 15th in passing yards, first in rushing yards, third in red zone touchdown percentage at 66%, just over, fourth and third down conversion rate. So Josh Allen absolutely has them humming. He is sporting one of the worst receiving cores in the NFL. Doesn't matter. They're dominating on the ground. They're winning in all sorts of ways. He's always putting the ball where it needs to be. The Jaguars offense on the other side, not too shabby themselves. Sixth in points scored, 11th in yards, 12th in passing, 20th in rushing, which was pretty shocking when we looked it up. I actually had Ted double check that. 10th in red zone touchdown percentage and 19th in third down percentage. So situationally leave a little bit to be desired. Defensively, Sean McDermott, one of the better defensive coaches in the NFL, 12th in points allowed, 7th in yards, first in passing, defense, 28th in rushing defense, 19th in red zone touchdown percentage, 24th in third down percentage. For the Jags defense, again, pretty good. 8th in points allowed, 11th in yards, 21st in passing, first in rushing. They are the best rushing defense in the NFL. 19th in red zone touchdown percentage and 20th in third down percentage at 40%. The Bills are favored by 1.5 with an over/under of 51.5, which seems extremely high to me. So what am I looking at in this game? The Jags are a bit of a run funnel or a bit of a pass funnel, right? Their run defense is so good they tend to force teams to pass. How does that matter for the Bills though? It's going to be weird. I mean, what did we see? Brandon Cooks balling out a little bit a couple weeks ago. We've seen Keon Coleman unable to get on the field. We've seen Gabe Davis off the bench making plays for the Bills, or off the street, not even off the bench, off the street making plays for the Bills this year. Khalil Shakir is a solid slot player, but he's really more of a role player, not really someone you want to feature in your passing offense. Dalton Kincaid has had serious health problems for most of this year. I think ultimately what this Bills team has been more so than anything else has been the James Cook and Josh Allen show, which makes sense when you have like 75, $80 million invested in two guys that are the core of your running offense. You would hope that you see that sort of thing. And you do. They're the number one rushing offense in the NFL. So I think you've gotten exactly what you paid for in those two players. I think for most of this year, both of those guys have been sensational, which is what makes this matchup so fucking cool to me. It is a strength versus strength matchup. The Jags absolutely put the clamps on opposing run game. Now, they do statistically. Is that more because teams are apt to pass against them because they're more gettable in the air? That's probably part of it, but they're still the number one rushing defense in the NFL. Like that has to factor in heavily when you discuss this game. So to me, strength versus strength for the Bills, that is going to be right off the rip. Can the Bills run the ball? If James Cook and Josh Allen are going, it's going to open up the pass game plenty. They're going to be rolling. We're going to have a crazy shootout. If they cannot, like we saw Philadelphia really give them a hard time for most of like last week, or most of week 17. That's yeah, we'll have to see there. That'll be really a tough one. Can Josh Allen drop back and air out the ball and throw for 360 yards? Of course he can. It's just going to be a tall task. On the other side for the Jags, I know that Trevor Lawrence has reversed his turnover happy ways as of late, but Trevor Lawrence does have a history, man. There was a period where he had gone like 20 straight games with an interception or a fumble every single game. Now, the last like 6 or 7, he's been super efficient and super protective of the ball, but this passing defense is fantastic. So I think you have a similar question with Travis Etienne, and Trevor Lawrence. Can they run the ball? Can they run the ball on the Bills? The Bills have been very gettable on the ground, extremely gettable on the ground. But they've also been playing a little better, a little bit better defensively lately. I mean, Saquon didn't go totally wild on them or anything. They allowed 14 points to the to Philly. So I think the ground game is what's going to define this week. I think the passing's almost going to be ancillary. I don't think the Jags want to pass the ball if they don't have to. I think the Bills are going to have to commit to the run to be able to pass the ball. I think if their run game totally collapses and it's just Josh Allen dropping back, they don't have the Jimmies and the Joes to let the X's and O's do what they're trying to do. So yeah, that's what I'm most fascinated to see. Again, just bottom line though, even if I think the Jags are a better overall roster, which I do, I think they're a much more talented overall roster than the Bills. Josh Allen versus Trevor Lawrence to me is worth 2 or 3 points. And now coaching staffs, is Liam Cohen that much better than Sean McDermott? I don't know. Sean McDermott defensively is like as good as it gets. But Trevor Lawrence versus Josh Allen, man. I wonder what that's worth. What is that worth to you, Ted? The difference between those two quarterbacks. That's to me is the burning question for this week.
Oh, I mean, you know, Trevor playing so well down the stretch, I think, is a massive credit to Liam Cohen, right? I mean, make no mistake, the Jaguars, they traded up to get the number 2 pick, but they still had a top 5 pick in last year's draft, right? Like this is a complete turnaround. Like Liam Cohen comes in his first year gets 13 wins with this roster,
Yeah.
right? Which
Damn.
doesn't fundamentally have that much changed, right? You drafted Travis Hunter, he gets injured, then you bring in Jacoby Myers, right? So really you just kind of brought in like a reliable slot receiver is what you did. So yeah, obviously I think that talent wise, I think Josh Allen is doing the best in the world right now. Like even before Mahomes went out, I think that Josh Allen was playing better than Mahomes this year. And Trevor, he's a fun story. I just don't think it's close though, right? But when I look at this game, like so the Bills, I believe it's been 9 straight weeks now that the Bills never surrendered a lead to the Jets in the second half because the Jets are an anomaly, right? But if you take the Jets out of like, your analysis here, the Bills have surrendered a second half lead in 9 straight games. They've been behind in every single game for 9 straight weeks and asked Josh Allen to like save them, right? The Jaguars are playing really, really well right now. They're really hot. To me, this game, it does have Jaguars going up early, to me. Like I would be if the Bills are up, if the Bills go into the locker room at halftime with a 14-10 lead, I'd be shocked. Like I think the Jaguars go in with a lead here. I think that this is the downside of the way the Bills built their defense, right? You built your defense because you live in the AFC and you have to go against Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes all the time, right? But all of a sudden, here comes a Jaguars team in the Liam Cohen rush scheme, and all of a sudden, your stuff is backwards, right? I
Yeah,
don't think that being such a great pass defense helps them as much in this spot. And I think that ultimately it's going to come down to Josh Allen chasing a lead in the second half, right? We've seen him put on a Superman cape when needed many times. I don't think this is a game the Bills don't need it. I think it's gonna be really close for sure. Like this one, the Packers and the Bears. I totally agree with you. It's the most intrigue for me.
okay.
I ended up on the Bills. I couldn't say no to Josh Allen, man. I get that this Bills team is more flawed than past iterations, but the Jags being a pass funnel, like they are, right? Like it just has Josh Allen's Superman second half written all over it to me. I would not bet anything on this game whatsoever. I wouldn't I guess maybe I'd bet the Bills -1.5 because it's just such a short number, but I would not do it with confidence, right? Like maybe it would make like the gambling show picks because we have to pick five. But if I was spending my real money, my hard-earned dollars on it, I would not have a wager on this game. And Yanni, do you want to reveal it?
I will be picking the Jags. I think we see a Travis Etienne 25 to 30 touch masterpiece. I think we see an absolute rushing bonanza from the Jags, and I think it will be the difference in the game. I think they're going to force Josh Allen to pass the ball. I expect turnovers if that happens. Yeah, so I'm betting on the Jags. I'm betting they stop James Cook. I'm betting they force the Bills to be one dimensional, and I don't think it goes so well for him.
Yep. First, not
Head to
consensus
head.
on the week. Yeah, first head to head. Yanni's jagging off. We'll see how that works out for him. All right, this is the Sunday night game. We got the Chargers going to New England to play the Patriots. The scrappy 7 seed Chargers. They rolled in there just barely alive, but they are. Here's the offensive and defensive stuff. Chargers offense 20th in points scored on the year. They're 12th in yards gained, 18th in passing yards gained, and 12th in rushing yards gained. You know, it's kind of shocking to me to see the Chargers like technically ranking higher in rushing statistics than passing statistics, given that they have, for my money, one of the elite quarterbacks in the league in Justin Herbert. But I think that speaks to just how banged up the Chargers offensive line got over the year and how it really affected their offensive efficiency. Yeah, it's just not the same prolific Chargers offense that we saw at the beginning of the year. And that's highlighted by them being 29th in red zone touchdown percentage. The Chargers get into the paint when they get in the red zone less than 50% of the time. That's you got Justin Herbert, you drafted Omari and Hampton in the first round. You got guys like Lad McConkey, Keenan Allen. You would think it would be better. But to me, that shows signs of like a kind of sick offense a little bit. However, the Chargers are third in third down conversion percentage. That's they convert on 45.8% of third downs. To me, that's a Justin Herbert stat. I feel like Justin Herbert added the scrambling to his bag this year. Given he just had to do it more, right? It was you don't have a clean pocket, the play breaks down, and you kind of have to run for your life. We see a lot of Brock Purdy doing that. Justin Herbert was very effective at that this year. I think that goes into their good third down conversion percentage. For the Patriots, just the best season ever for them, the dream season. Offensively great. They were second in points scored, third in yards gained, fourth in passing yards gained, sixth in rushing yards gained. So top 10 in all categories, if not top three or five. Just elite stuff across the board. They struggled a little bit when they got in the red zone. 17th in red zone touchdown percentage, only scoring 57.1% of the time. And you know what? I feel like maybe that's a little bit of Vrabel old school stuff, right? Like Vrabel is a good old boy. Like as he's not as aggressive going for fourth down as guys like Dan Campbell, right? He would be fine taking the points. And a lot of times the Patriots were up in games and the 3 points would make it a 3-score game, for example, right? So I feel like they're a little bit better than that. And then on third down, they're also sixth. They convert 42.9% of the time. Again, great third down offense. On the defensive end, the Chargers, this is kind of, in my opinion, how they were able to stay afloat here defensively. They're ninth in points allowed, fifth in defensive yards allowed, fifth in passing defense, and eighth in rushing defense. So just top 10 in all categories, stellar. It gets even better on the critical downs. The Chargers are fourth in red zone touchdown percentage. They only allow a touchdown 46.9% of the times the other team gets in the red zone. Then they're fifth in third down defense, only allowing a third down conversion 35.2% of the time. For the Patriots, fourth in points allowed, so great season for them. Eighth in yards allowed, ninth in passing yards allowed, sixth in rushing yards allowed. So again, it looks to be top 10 in all categories, but we see a little crack in the armor here. 30th in red zone touchdown percentage. They allow a touchdown 67.5% of the time. Opposing teams get in the red zone. That's shocking to me. I don't know how that's happened, but the Patriots not so good when teams get in scoring position, and they are 12th on third downs allowed on defense. They allow a third down conversion 38.5% of the time, right? So what really popped out on the screen to me was that Patriots red zone defense number, right? Because that's shockingly bad. It's almost 70% of the time teams are getting in the end zone when they get down there. So when I look at that, right, to me, it's like, can you keep the Chargers out of the red zone? Like that's the very first question, right? This Chargers team like has struggled and looked so weird without Austin Slater and Joe Alton there that I feel like the Patriots need to take advantage early. They cannot allow the Chargers to get these sustained drives and get down there because when they get down there, I feel like they are 29th in red zone touchdown percentage, but I'm gonna always bet on Justin Herbert to make a good read or throw. So I think the Patriots need to do their best to step on him early. It is a big test for them, right? Like the Patriots have kind of gotten this argument from I guess NFL fans and the public in general about how they played no one this year. I am definitely someone who pulls out that argument a lot because I think that context is important to the story of your season. But I have this weird like belief in what we see from the Patriots being real. Like a lot of times, like the Vikings last year. If you guys watched the show last year, like I was always shit talking the Vikings and saying, "Well, they played no one, they're not legitimate," and it just burned me time and time and time again on the way to a 13-4 season. Right? I have weirdly more faith in the Patriots, but they've played a much easier schedule than the Vikings, so it's going to be a big test for him. I know the Chargers are not at full strength right now, but this is a real team. This is a real team with a real defense in all categories. I think it's going to be a big Drake May game, right? First appearance in the playoffs. Like obviously, this Patriots team was not even close last year, right? So what do we get from him? Like we've seen quarterbacks be elite in the regular season and just not have it in the postseason, right? Like Lamar. Like that was the big Lamar sticking point for so long. He's been bad in the postseason. He chokes or whatever, right? I'm interested to see what we get out of Drake May. I don't really want to make a prediction on that. If I had to guess, I think Drake May has shown this year that he is just a fundamentally sick player, and he's going to be good in this game. But I do think that that's a big storyline here. Looking at my notes, that's pretty much all I had on it. I think this is, I guess so for the spread, right? Patriots -3.5. One of my more favorite picks in this game is Chargers plus the 3.5. I think Herbert as an underdog has really great splits. Over under 46.5. I lean under here. I feel like these defenses are both pretty good. I feel like points are going to come at a premium, especially with the Chargers, right? That's just kind of the way the Chargers need to play this game. I do think it's close. I'm not going to reveal it just yet, but what do you think of this game, Yoni?
So I was like looking over some notes for it. I was like trying to look at what is the most consequential game Drake May has played before this up to his career, and it would probably be the Bills games this year, right? But like, dude, he was a Tar Heel, a North Carolina Tar Heel for a couple years, and then last year did not play any really meaningful games, right? Didn't even play toward the whole season. So it's like, dude, I love the idea that you have a quarterback who I think we suspect, I don't know if we know, but I mean, you and I were drafting him really heavily in fantasy this year. I mean, that's not like that was the worst kept secret in the fantasy community, right? Go Drake May if you're going to go late in fantasy. I won multiple championships with him this year. Like Drake May was traumatic. I feel like that was just like a big thing, right? Everyone wondered, like, is this a Josh Allen or a Justin Herbert caliber player? I'd be actually curious just off the rip, like, do you think, I'm not saying he's there yet, like, do you think we're looking at that next guy, the next, like, when we say there are 5 or 6 game breaking quarterbacks in football, do you think Drake May is going to force his name in that conversation? Maybe bump Matt Stafford out as he gets a little bit older?
So
Um,
for game breaking, so I'm of
I'm
the
talking about game
opinion,
breaking, right? That's a very, you and I are very picky about who we put in that level, right? I'm
yeah.
talking about has a Superman cape that he can pull out when the team needs him to.
So I'm not gonna give Drake May his Superman cape just yet. I
Right.
think that he has shown though that he is more than capable of piloting this team. He's more than capable of hitting all the difficult throws. He can scramble around. I think he has all of the tools in the bag to do that. But I mean, a lot of other guys do too, right? And they're
Right.
spotty. Like Caleb Williams has those shots in the bag. Jordan Love has those shots in the bag, and I feel like there are still pieces missing. Drake May has been consistent all year. I think that he just needs to put a bow on it with a good playoff performance here, and then I think he can at least be in conversations. But I won't crown him just yet.
Of course not, right? But to me in the AFC, like there's this fascinating split. There are those that can bring it in the postseason and those that cannot. There is Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. There's a to me that is a very distinct 3 guys that have gone above and beyond when the playoffs start, where they're like, no, 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 no. This is, you know what I mean? This is the time to their game hits that next level. And that's why we've gotten those really incredible Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes games. Um, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, not quite so much. Trevor Lawrence was pretty up and down in his appearance. So to me, it's really an interesting, like you talk about great narratives, dude. Is Drake May one of those guys that's going to get smaller or bigger in the playoffs? If he gets bigger, we might have a few years here of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Drake May going toe to toe for years in the playoffs. Would be a shame for their careers in terms of total numbers of trophies, but for us as fans, like what a treat. Does he take a step back and like does Justin Herbert, empowered by Jim Harbaugh, really kind of show the ceiling that you and I believe he has? So what a game from that regard. And to me, so this is what the biggest game of Drake May's life, obviously. But dude, he has not experienced pressure like this before, and this team has not experienced pressure like this before. I know they played Buffalo twice and they did pretty well against him, but like they also had 2 of their worst games of the year against him. They also lost to the Raiders. They've also lost to the Steelers. Like they've lost some games they should not have lost, and all of a sudden they have their biggest test of the year at home against Jesse Minter, who won a college championship with Jim Harbaugh, came to the NFL. He's now being looked at as a head coach. He's a disciple of Mike Macdonald, who is maybe my favorite defensive coordinator in the league besides like Robert Saleh right now. He's as good as it gets. Um, what a stiff test. What a moment like for the NFL for both of these young men, right? And Justin Herbert has to be sick of it, dude. He has to be sick of hearing how he doesn't get it done in the playoffs. Now his teams are going downhill, and now he comes in with 4 injured O linemen. But the Patriots don't really have a pass rush, and in a lot of ways, and also, so another factor I want to throw in, Omari and Hampton. I think he's not going. I don't think he's on the right side of questionable. I know he practiced on Friday, but I forget the play it was exactly, but I saw a pretty clear play where he retweaked his ankle badly. It looked to me. And then Jeff Mueller, the doctor on Twitter, said that he thinks that that's a very legitimate questionable, as in may not play. If Omarion Hampton doesn't play, I think that does actually really matter. I know maybe that's less of a factor for you than it is for me, but like I thought he looked pretty good the last 3 weeks. Not great, but pretty good. Like a good player. So if they can't run the ball, dude. Which is what a moment though. What a moment for the 2 young quarterbacks. If Drake May goes out there and puts up 35 points on that defense, it would be one of the most stunning games of the year. It would set up, in my opinion, for a pretty crazy run that's coming, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he goes out there and stumbles his way to 14 or 17 points. It's just the nature of guys trying to take a massive level up in their career and young teams trying to take a massive level up in their career. But all things considered, I really, really like this Patriots team.
Yeah, me too. We're riding with the kid here. Both taking the Patriots. You know, if the Chargers struggle here offensively, right, and I'm sure the talking heads are going to start revving up their Justin Herbert, like, is the what if man, Justin Herbert's not elite quarterback stuff. I'm I'm willing already to completely hand wave anything that happens here with the Chargers
Yep.
offensively, like unless Herbert is egregiously bad. Like this is not an accurate representation, I think, of this Chargers team, which is such a bummer. But I think that next year they're calling back stronger. Patriots for me too.
Yeah, just real quick, do you remember in the last one, did he have multiple turnovers? Was it Trevor that had 4 turnovers? I don't remember. We were at the Niners game when that was going on. That
So
crazy game. Wasn't it one of them had 3 or 4 turnovers?
no.
Was it?
So Trevor had 4 picks in the first half.
Yeah,
We're talking about the
yeah,
Jaguars and Chargers wild card game. And
yeah,
then I think the Chargers were up 28-3, and then they
yeah.
blew that lead.
Okay,
Herbert did have a
okay.
couple picks, and then last year against the Texans, Herbert looked terrible,
Of
right? The
course.
Texans
Yeah.
boat raced him.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, I don't know. I will at least say I will open the door to the conversation that he's not a playoff performer if he goes out and throws like 3 interceptions. If he has like Mickey Mouse plays, maybe. But I don't know, dude. I still think he's so good. So okay, speaking of the Texans at the Steelers, I imagine like even though the Steelers were thrilled that they advanced and it was great and they probably shouldn't have Tyler Loop, messed up. They had to have a priest bless the end zone where the kick missed. That probably didn't hurt the odds of the kick missing. I don't know. But like I can't imagine after that jubilation and excitement they went, oh boy, we get the Texans at home. Like I don't know, man. The Texans are one of the worst draws I can imagine for any wild card team in like the last 5 years. You just talk about a tall task. I mean, I guess the Panthers drew the Rams this year, right? That's pretty bad, but my God. The Texans offense, not the highlight of their team, although they really did rally toward the second half of the season. 13th in points scored, 18th in yards, 14th in passing, 22nd in rushing, 30th in red zone touchdown percentage, and 23rd on third downs. The Steelers offense, again, really not the highlight of their team. 15th in points scored, 25th in yards, 22nd in passing, 26th in rushing, 11th in red zone touchdown percentage. Old man Aaron Cullen plays the line of scrimmage, getting him in position, and 15th on third down. So they're not a bad third down team. Defensively, though, this is where the game is not close between the two teams. The Texans' defense is second in points allowed, first in yards, sixth in passing, fourth in rushing, 16th in red zone touchdown percentage, and sixth in third down percentage. Just an absolutely elite defense, one of the best we've seen in the NFL in the last decade. The Steelers' defense, uncharacteristically, 17th in points allowed, 26th in yards, 29th in passing, 13th in rushing, 7th in red zone touchdown percentage, and 25th in third down percentage allowed. So they've been getting kind of clowned. They have been missing like TJ Watt for stretches this year. Their other DN missed stretches in the beginning of the year. I mean, even they've had some issues in the secondary with injuries, right? So, Texans are favored by 3 on the road. The over-under on this game is 38.5, which has been pretty typical of Texans games this year. It is pretty rare we see a shootout. Somehow, one of the few teams that was able to do it were Austin Genty and the Raiders. Austin Genty and the Raiders absolutely took it to the Texans on defense, which was one of the most shocking things I saw all year. But it does give you a pretty good idea of what the Steelers' path to victory here is. It is absolutely not Aaron Rodgers dropping back 38 times to throw the ball. The way the Steelers win this game is not Aaron Rodgers throws for 380 yards and 4 touchdowns or 315 yards and then 3 touchdowns. That would be I would be gobsmacked. I would be flabbergasted if that is what happened, because I don't think it's possible for that to happen. I think if Aaron Rodgers has to drop back 35 to 40 times, he's getting sacked like 4 to 6 times. He does not have the speed to get away. He does not have escapability anymore. And the Texans have one of the most intimidating bookend defensive edge combos I've ever seen, and they send rushes like crazy. D'Amico Ryans is an incredible defensive coordinator. So the Steelers are going to have to run the ball here. They're going to have to bite down on the mouthpiece and run the ball against a top 5 rushing defense. And like a top 5 rushing defense that has absolutely clowned some teams. The Texans teed off on the Buffalo Bills. The Texans beat the 49ers like a drum. The Texans have really like, I mean, I guess, they let up some yards to the Colts in their last game of the season. But like, other than that, dude, I don't know, man. There are not a whole lot of games where you look up and you see the Texans getting worked defensively. Me and Ted have like joked this year. It looks like domestic violence out there when they're hitting guys. Like 2 grown men that consensually signed up to fly into each other at 30 miles an hour to get a football. It looks unfair. Like it looks mean what they're doing to guys, right? So Does a 38-year-old, whatever, 37-year-old Adam Thielen, is he going to break the game here? DK Metcalf, certainly capable of doing so, but pretty easy to roll coverage toward him when he's just one guy and he's really their only explosive piece. The tight ends are pretty good there, right? But the Texans' safeties are fucking fantastic. The Texans' linebackers, Aziz Al-Shaair is one of the best sideline to sideline linebackers I've seen in this era of the NFL. He is from that 49ers system. He was scouted by the 49ers department, that same department that produced Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, and Aziz Al-Shaair. So it's just, dude, it is such a tall task you are placing on the Steelers offense. And this is a Steelers offense who actually played, I thought, admirably against the Ravens, even though the Ravens are actually a pretty good defense too, or at least have been playing pretty good ball. So, like, I think it's possible. I think it's very possible for the Steelers to score 24 points here. I think if they get to 24 points, they win the game. I just don't know how likely it is. It's possible. It's possible. On the other side of the ball, though, I like the Texans matchup with the Steelers defense way better. I don't think the Steelers have a guy. I know Jalen Ramsey's good, but he's also well past his prime. I don't think the Steelers have a guy that's going to match up with Nico Collins. Jaden Hickens and Jalen Noel have each taken their turns kind of going off this year. I don't know how good either one really is. Probably more at best role players in the NFL. The tight end Dalton Schultz was actually on fire at periods towards the end of this year. Like, he had like multiple games in the second half of the season where he looked like a tight end one. And then Jawar Johnson actually ran pretty well with Woody Marks. I think they're like a decent running combo, but they're nothing like special. So to me, it's really just as simple as, can the Texans get to 24 points? That's the number that I think for either of these teams. I think whichever one gets to 24 points is probably winning the game. And I think it's going to be a slog to get there. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see 17-20, 21-17, 21-16. I wouldn't be surprised if we go into halftime and it's 9-6. I think if you're making like a DraftKings DFS card for this, it is very possible, if not likely, I'm going to go ahead and have Kaimi Fairbairn as my captain for the cash games. Get 1.5 points on Kaimi Fairbairn. I think you're live for a 20-point game from your kicker. So that's sort of the game script that I see going on. But I think the Texans just have a little bit more to offer offensively. And then defensively, it's not even close, right? I don't think these two defenses are in the same stratosphere. So yeah, yeah, I think it's going to be a struggle, but do not forget, Aaron Rodgers has 9 playoff wins to his name. He is the ninth most winningest or ninth most wins of any quarterback in NFL history in the playoffs. He has a wealth of experience. He is one of the best we've ever seen at the position. He is far from shot at this point. He's still playing some good ball. And I think that really matters in today's game. Does it matter more than D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud and that Texans defense? We will find out. What do you think, Ted? How much credit are you giving old man Aaron Rodgers?
I love Aaron. I think that he is far and away been the best quarterback the Steelers have had since old Ben Roethlisberger, but I'm scared for his health. Like, I've one of the
Yep.
talking points that I've heard on, the talking heads talk about, people have podcasts, Nick Wright, that type of thing, right? They say, well, I think Aaron's going to be more likely to sit in the pocket and take hits this game because it's probably his last game. Aaron, don't sit in the pocket and take hits this game. You will die. Will Anderson will crush you. Don't do that. I think the Steelers have to get the ball out very quickly, planning on just being under assault, right? Like, Aaron cannot. I think, how many sacks did the Texans get on Josh Allen? Like 9. Like, if Aaron gets sacked 9 times, he won't even be in the game to take those 9 sacks. So I think there needs to be a smart game plan there from the Steelers. Here's some fun, like, Tomlin Black Magic stats, right? Because we talk about it all the time. I I saw this stat and Yanni did not believe it. And then he saw it was from Schefter and he had to give in. Mike Tomlin has won the last 23 straight Monday night football games that the Steelers have played at home, undefeated in 23 straight at home, and we find ourselves, right, Steelers is a 3-point underdog. The betting community will always tell you that you take the Steelers in these spots, right?
66%, right? Or 67% Tomlin is, I
Yeah,
think. I think it's
something
something
like that.
absurd.
Yeah, in the mid 60s. So, like, while I do agree, yes, that is a trend that has been happening. Yes, I'm sure that Mike Tomlin will be having some nice rah-rah speeches for the Steelers. I just defensively against this current iteration of the Steelers offense, it just seems like a lot of trouble to me. I don't love. I've been notoriously low on the Texans offense as well. I think more people have been more willing to give them credit during this 9-game stretch. I don't 9-game winning streak, I guess that's what the stretch is. But I just feel like a lot of the Texans' problems offensively are still persistent, right? And that is not having real playmakers outside of Nico Collins in their terrible offensive line. So the Steelers, like as a whole, defense have not been playing well, right? But they still have these high impact guys in T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith. Well, I wonder if they can get to C.J. Because we've seen earlier in the year, right, when the Texans were on their losing streak, and I believe they were 2-5 at one point, right? We saw these weird plays where C.J. almost looked like he didn't trust. He didn't trust his line. He was almost like looking like he was anticipating getting hit. And he was missing a lot of throws. I feel like the Tomlin game plan here, right? Because the Texans just have not had a consistent rush game all year. I think the Tomlin game plan here is going to be send pass blitz, pass blitz, try and speed up CJ and see if he can make a couple mistakes. CJ threw 2 picks last week against the Chargers. I love CJ. I love the kid. I still think he is. He's in his third year, right? He's well beyond, I think, what your typical third year quarterback is, but he can still make mistakes. I do think that this might be closer than we'd think, right? The Steelers barely limp into the playoffs. Everyone, has been willing to sell this team short, say the Steelers aren't doing anything. I don't think the Steelers are making a run here in the AFC, but I do think against another flawed team in the Texans, it will be close. At the end of the day, though, I'm picking this Texans defense, man. I just think that's such an edge. I hope Aaron makes it out of this game like alive, really. And Yanni, who did you take?
So not only am I going to go ahead and take the Texans here this week, if they advance and if they go to Denver, I'm going to go ahead and take them to beat Denver next week. I think this defense is that good. I think they are Super Bowl winning good. And if you don't have a Josh Allen caliber quarterback, maybe a Trevor Lawrence or a Drake May caliber quarterback, I think you're in serious trouble. And I think the Steelers are in serious trouble. I think Bo Nix will be in serious trouble if it comes down to it.
I mean, I will co-sign on the Texans having a championship level defense thing.
Yeah.
We'll see how the board shakes out though. So, because
Yep.
we had some differences here in who we took, right? I took the Bills and Yanni took the Jaguars. So my bracket looks like this. I'm going to flash it up on the screen. Because I had the Rams beating the Panthers and the Bears beating the Packers, it would set up an NFC divisional championship of the Rams and the Seahawks and the Eagles and the Bears. Then on the AFC, because I had the Bills winning that game, it would be the Bills going to Denver to play the Broncos. And then I have the Texans because they won going to New England to play the Patriots.
Okay, so mine basically what Ted said, very similar, right? We only disagreed on one game. But so next round, yeah, I would have LA versus the Seahawks in Seattle. We'll see. We'll see. That would be a fascinating game if it happens. And sadly, I would have the Eagles versus the Bears. I do not have our 49ers advancing. Um, like I said, just is what it is. It kills me to do. And then my rounds next week would be the Texans at the Broncos and then the Jags at the Patriots, which God, dude, if we get those two matchups, like just the storylines alone, Drake may go into Jaguars. Oh man, I hope I'm right. I hope Ted's right too, but only one of us can be. But oh, dude, please give us these stories. We'll find out. I'm very excited. I actually think this year's one of the most interesting playoff races that we've had in a long, long time. It just kills me that our 49ers aren't taking their rightful place as the favorite out of the NFC.
Yeah, man, it feels like with Mahomes down, right? The Chiefs not being involved, like this
The
thing
king,
feels more wide open than it's ever been,
the,
right?
the king fell. The king is down.
Dude, can you
The crown is
imagine
on the
if
ground.
like you could go back in time and you talked to like preseason Yanni and Ted and you said, you know what? AFC divisional playoff game is gonna be the Jaguars and the Patriots. How we'd react? I'd probably laugh at you. I'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking
Dude,
about?"
how fun though. And then the Broncos and the Texans. We'll see. We'll see. And the Bears might make the final eight. Like, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, that's gonna do it for us. If you made it through the whole video, thank you. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell. It helps the channel out. Yeah, we got a couple more episodes for the rest of this season. Then we'll be in our off season. Probably take a little break, but we're gonna come to you guys with a little bit more content. I think in the off season, probably do some more mock draft stuff, do a
Yeah.
gambling recap, that sort of thing. Let us know in the comments. I'm deeply fascinated about this. Are you guys playing in like bracket challenges? I started seeing these bracket challenges pop up. I'm involved in two of them now because I had people invite me to them. Right? Like apparently, like this is starting to be a more popular thing. Uh, Listen, I'm down. If people are going to start filling out NFL brackets, I feel like I know a lot of football, so I'm always down. Yanni, are you doing any bracket challenges this year?
No, I did not join any of them. Was not. Yeah, I'm applying to grad school. I got shit going on this week, dude. I should have though. I should have. I feel like though, here's the problem, right? This isn't March Madness with 32 teams. I feel like if it's like 14 teams, it's pretty easy to cover every permutation and combination. Is this like where you put in $20 and you enter a pool of 1,000
No,
people
no,
or
no,
whatever?
no. It's like just like friends or whatever. They're like, hey, you want to join my bracket challenge? And it's like a fantasy league size. There's just like 16
Oh,
people that are just like, oh
okay.
yeah. And
Okay.
it's interesting because
Okay.
like you have to do your bracket like early, right? So say if you pick a team to like make a run that gets knocked out in the first round, you're just
Yeah,
losing
it's over.
points all the way. You don't get to repick them. You only
Okay,
get one
okay, that's
shot at
actually
it.
cool. I get that. I was thinking like, dude, if you're talking about like doing and you know how March Madness is, there are like $100 entries and then several thousand people in a pool. Like if you're doing that, it's pretty easy with 14 teams to just max out each permutation and combination. I mean, it's not pretty easy, but it's you could do a huge percentage of them. So yeah, it's interesting. You have to let me know how you do.
Yeah, one entry per pool. But yeah, we'll catch you guys next week for the divisional stuff.